Thank you for tuning into Three Queens and Things, a space where queens connect. Our podcast will be bringing you the latest and greatest topics of self-love and womanhood. I'm Mimi Ford.
I'm Ati.
And I'm Sola T.
And we are
Three Queens and Things. Okay.
So today's topic is called, Who You Calling A
Bitch.
You and I see why.
She sang that right in the nasal area. It came out right.
It's the only way to say it. You gotta hit it like that.
So this song would have came out in 92, 93. Let me start off by saying, growing up, I didn't have cable, right? So we would go to my grandmother's house, and that's when MTV and BET played music videos all day long. Mm-hmm. So I remember the exact day seeing this video. It captivated me because I was always like a tomboy, and I felt like Queen really showed me myself. Like, and actually I took away things in that song. I know when she says, like, and I punched him dead in his eye, I used to fight boys. So I felt like if I was ever disrespected, we're going to fight. But the song ultimately made me feel like it's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to be strong. It's okay to be a tomboy. And I just live with that, for the rest of my life. So, hats off to the Queen for giving us unity.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So let's kick off the round table, y'all. Would y'all consider yourselves a bitch? Have you ever been called a bitch? And if so, did you agree?
What's my favorite word?
Bitch. I ain't gonna say it like that. Bitch. Them shoulders get to bouncing.
Right. I would, in situations, if that's the label, if that's what I'm being portrayed as, because I'm speaking my mind, I'm being a boss. Sometimes when you're a woman, you don't get that label as a boss. You get that label as, she's being a bitch.
Right.
So I'll take it. You know what I mean? If I'm not disrespecting anybody, but I'm speaking up for myself and I'm saying what I mean and I'm meaning what I say, I would definitely take on that title. It's okay.
Yeah, I think it's just such a lovely word. I understand, like, the complexities of it. Like, there's so many times I'm like, I probably shouldn't say it. But it's just sometimes it just fits the moment so right. Like, in both negative and positive ways. So I don't know. I think that's a word that I always kind of go a little back and forth with in my life. But it's a lot of bitches out here that get called bitches.
It depends on the context.
And it's not even gender specific. Like, it can go any way. Yeah. Sometimes, like, you was that bitch. Bitch, if you don't.
Right.
Bitch. And I think it's just like, sometimes I think it's the itch in it that it just, you know what I'm saying? I said, like, it needed that snap to it. So I understand where it could be problematic, but I think that happens with a lot of words. So it's a word in my vocabulary. That's what I can say. And being called one, like, I know people are intimidated by me in certain ways. So that's sometimes a word that they make the equivalent, but I think I know who I am. So
I agree with that. There's been a lot of times, I think me as a person, I tend to brush a lot of things off. So when I do stick up for myself, it's like, bitch, like, who do you think?
Bitch today.
And
girl, you better be that bitch all the time. Then it wouldn't bite so much.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I think I should. But yeah, definitely in the situations where I have been called a bitch, it's just like, I'll be that. Like, I'll take it. If that means that me sticking up for myself, I'm a bitch, then okay.
Definitely. Most definitely. Now, is there a fine line between commanding respect as a woman and being labeled as a bitch?
I think it's something people just don't understand in general. I think, me working in a corporate space now, I see when people be like, oh, she kind of doing too much. And you call her a bitch, you call her what she want, like she's going after what's hers. And like if she's a man, most of the time you aren't going to look at it the same way, or there's not a word that we use for men who do that. Except for a successful boss. Like those are the words, but there's not a word that has that bite. So maybe that's why I have such, I grapple with it so much, because maybe I turned bitch into that thing that like everybody's not gonna understand. Some people are gonna limit me in ways, but like going after it, if that makes me a bitch, I'll be one.
Right. I definitely feel like there's no in between. I feel like anytime you're commanding respect for yourself, it's like, oh, she's a bitch. Like, yeah, it's either I'm being a pushover or I'm letting y'all know what I'm not going to take, and then I'm a bitch, so.
And I think laying clear boundaries. I do think that people can get overboard in terms of, like, overcompensating. Now, I don't know if that word bitch should be correlated with whatever that is, but just to me, like, you have to, I don't know, it's complex, but like you can't overdo you can't overextend in that way, but you also can't be a pushover. But it doesn't mean you need to be aggressive all the times, but you don't need to be passive either. It's like finding that moderately aggressive space or whatever works for you. And sometimes it's going to come out, but like I don't think your constant should be aggressive. But I don't equate that to bitch in my head. So
I think it's perceived that way, though. That's
yeah,
what
I think people can call it that.
Anytime that you like, no, like you stand up for yourself, like there's no in between. Either you just letting people walk over you, or the times that you do stick up for yourself is just like automatically you're labeled a bitch. There's no like, that's just the way it's perceived.
I think Beyonce said it best, and I don't remember exactly the quote, but she said something like, you can't be friendly and polite in business. You know, when you're dealing with something that is yours and your neck is on the line and your name is on it, or something that you're passionate about, you have to really just be affirmative of what you're saying and how you're saying it, because you want to be, me personally, I want to be taken serious in what I'm doing as far as my business and my brand. So you have to be firm in that. Right. You have to stand in that. And sometimes people are not going to take that the right way. I'm not going to disrespect you, but I'm going to come at you in a way that I need you to understand what I'm saying. And most people, I feel like men, for the most part, and maybe even other women too, they expect you to come off soft and,
caress them and
gentle
and work your way up to saying what you have to say rather than say it directly.
So I feel like it's kind of like a shock, like a taking
turn
back.
it down.
Yeah,
turn
like,
it down.
No. This is really what it is.
It's like I'm supposed to comfort you and me expressing myself,
right?
And it's like there's a difference between understanding who your recipient is going to be of your message, who your audience is, and there's a difference between like me toning myself down just to make you comfortable to hear what I'm saying. Like those are two different things to me. And so I think that there's been a lot of times with me, like I am a 6 feet tall Black woman. Like a lot of my thing, there are people who can, I don't know if I have a problem with gaining respect as a woman. I think my Black woman comes where it's like, oh, she gonna be this way, or like she's gonna be super aggressive, or like people aren't as always soft to speak with me, or like in approaching me with things. So I think I don't know.
I feel like that's your demeanor as well. Like I feel like before you even open up your mouth, for example, like if before you open your mouth, I'm gonna automatically assume just based on how you look, like she means she's about her shit. So I'm not gonna play with her. If I was in that type of situation with you. So I just feel like sometimes people can take that the wrong way as intimidating, like and label you as that bitch for their own comfort or sake. But no, like I'm a strong woman.
Let's kind of go back a little bit. You touched on something I feel like was interesting, Mimi, when you said like being a bitch in business. Like when you're in business and you want to be taken seriously and you have to come in there and have your shit laid out and be like, this is what I'm about, this is what I'm asking out for. When you're doing business, especially with men, you being that straightforward and just that bold about it, you're perceived as a bitch, and that's not fair because men go in there and they might say the same thing, and that's a boss. So it's like
he's just doing what he's supposed to do.
How are you?
Fall in line.
Exactly.
Right. So how is it that, like, how do you find that balance in being professional but still being like, no, I need you to take me seriously, and have that tone where it's like.
Like for example, I work in a male-dominated industry. Yes. I work in automotive window film. Now, I'm a sales coordinator. I have to talk to shippers. I have to speak to warehouse people, and I have to tell them what I need and how I need it to be done. So it's all about commanding that respect, but also them understanding I respect you as well. I'm not. What I'm saying is not to be disrespectful towards you. It's to not to belittle you. But it's so you understand.
I'm not to be fucked with. Like,
I'm very, very serious about what I'm saying.
Right.
I feel like my personality personally is like people get it. Like I joke, but when I mean business. Yeah. All the guys look around like, okay, she's not playing. Like, we need to make sure this gets done. Like, I'm a fun person. I'm a joke. I'm a laugh with you. But when it's time for me to get something done, and I need to convey that to you, I'm very, very clear about that.
Absolutely.
So,
I think it's all in the tone. I definitely feel like there's a way to be professional and still like be serious, and then not be like a bitch and be just bossy about it. But
the thing is, like, that's the part of the bitch. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's nothing wrong with you being bossy. It's nothing wrong. Like, even what you said, like, that was interesting how that came out to be like, well, not to be a bitch. Like, but there's nothing wrong with being a bitch because of how women are socialized versus how men are socialized. And even dealing with that, I think that translates out of business into relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in those situations, and I know friends who have been in those situations where when you are direct about what it is that you want, then it's like, ooh, damn, like
Right.
now you making me feel wrong, or now you making me feel like I can't say how I feel, but like, why is me saying how I feel mean that you can't say how you feel?
Exactly.
And I think that I've seen that so much, especially in this space before I got in this relationship. And even I think sometimes it can come up where it's like me saying what I'm saying, like how is that how does that demean who you are?
I see that
By
a lot
expressing
amongst
my feelings.
Black women. Like, it's always a power struggle with Black women. Like, even when you speak, you call customer service, and you got another Black woman on the phone, it's like, I'm the stronger Black woman. Like, listen to what I'm, it's that power struggle. So and most of those experiences, like, I'd rather talk to a man because I know what that could turn into, but it's just very funny.
I don't know. I think that there's a certain way that Black women are socialized that in most cases that comes off as something to somebody or to everyone. A little piece of everyone takes it, but nobody like is saying like, why is she saying that? Like maybe she's just saying how she feels, but because how we've been socialized to hear her, we feel that it's being extra or it's so aggressive, and it's like that's how you've been socialized. Like even maybe with you calling, like I don't feel that when I call a Black woman, like
I feel it, but maybe because it could be something with me.
That's what I'm saying. Like it could be how we're all socialized to say like, oh, when I hear that tone, I know it. And that's you're doing the same thing that you're perpetuating
that onto them.
Exactly. And I think those are the things that like it's so complex because in one space you want to be like, okay, well this is it, but another one be like, you're a part of that.
Right.
Like we are all a part. There are all situations where like because I know people say I'm intimidated, sometimes I buck up and my pride comes out and my ego is there. And it's like, yeah, that could be me being a bitch, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with it in balance.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with it. I think what I was trying to say before, like with the whole being a bitch in business, is like nobody wants to work with somebody who's labeled as difficult. So it's kind of hard to like as a woman because you need to be taken seriously. I need you to understand like I'm about my business and you can't just run over me. Like this is a real business transaction. However, I do understand that the fact that I'm a woman, I'm sitting here demanding some shit from you. You might
asking or requiring something from you. So I'm making you work a little harder. So now I'm difficult, right?
Right. And then
that
can make it hard or make some men feel intimidated by that and not want to do, or other women too, not want to do business
other women.
with
I think I've always been one of the, I've had male leaders almost all of my career, in multiple jobs, and my female leaders, sometimes like I've thought about previous, bosses or leaders and just been like, dang, like she was difficult. Like I don't even know if she really me. Like why does it seem like you don't try to be well for me? And other bosses, like I've learned so much about being successful in my career, to be honest, from my white male leaders that I've had in my past. They have been the ones that say they do this, they offer you this, you go and get this. Or they say like you don't ask for that. That's not a question, that's a statement. Like I've learned those things from male leaders, and it's I've internalized it because now when I have female leaders, sometimes I do feel like they're being extra to overcompensate for what I know is a deficit based on how we're socialized. But at the same time, it's like, ugh.
Right.
So like, I'm trying to figure that out for myself. Cause it's like, I've had an easier time working with male leaders than I have female leaders.
Absolutely.
And why do I feel that way though? Like, is that real or are they tripping? Is it my perception? Is it a mix of both? Like, what is that?
Women, we're emotional creatures, and I don't work well with women that are like, I try to be the same all the time, regardless of what I'm dealing with. I don't try to put my issues or what I'm feeling onto anybody. Like, so I found in work environments, like women, we are extra. Like, well, she must be dealing with some shit at home because this bitch is tripping today. Like, I'm not going to say nothing to her. So I can agree with you. I deal better with men because they're more logical. They don't think with their emotions. And I'm a woman, naturally I'm emotional, but I try to model that in a work environment, like not, bring my home to work and, just leave it where it is and not be extra with somebody because I done had an argument with my husband before I just try to just be very logical and very professional in that sense. So
yeah, I think it has to be room for a balance. Like I think it's weird when I see some of my coworkers just bawling their eyes out at work. Like I don't feel like as a Black woman I've had that privilege, but it's just weird. Like there's so many pieces that it's always just like
It's hard
I don't know.
to demand respect and demand things in a workplace and then not be perceived as difficult. The strongest leader I've ever had was a black woman. I learned a lot from her. And the first thing she told me was, if you want to be taken seriously, especially by these white men, you got to be a bitch. Like, there's really no other way around it. And that's what I got to be to let y'all know, like, I'm just as qualified for this position as y'all are, if not more. By me sticking up for myself, then that's what it got to be. And she's like, I never came to the table without facts. Anytime I come to y'all and speak to y'all, I speak clearly. And it was intimidating. And she definitely did have she had the reputation around the office and in the company of being a bitch. But after working under her and her teaching me so many things and kind of molding me and helping me grow I see why she had to be that way. And honestly, if she was any other way, she wouldn't have been taken seriously and would not have gotten as far as she did in her career.
You definitely have to demand your respect. If you want your respect, you have to demand it. It's okay to say, no, that's not how we're going to do it. No, that's not okay with me. A few years ago, I was watching something. I don't know if y'all remember. It was like Nicki Minaj on like behind the scenes at the VMAs, and she was talking about like they gave her a jar of pickles in the green room, and she was like, had I have taken a jar of pickles, I will be drinking pickle juice right now. Like, it's okay to say, no, I'm not. Right. I'm not eating pickles. Like, what the hell is pickle juice doing? You know, pickles, a jar of pickles doing in my green room. Like, I found that it's okay to say, no, we're not going to do that. This is how we're going to do it. And sometimes when you use the word no, people try to.
Yeah, people don't like to hear anybody.
And really what that indicates is how that person feels about yourself.
It's
about themselves. Because if me sticking up for myself makes you feel intimidated or insecure, then I don't really know if I want to do business with you no way. You obviously got some sort of insecurities or something that you feel about you that makes you feel inferior to me because I'm demanding respect from you. And, like, that makes me feel like I don't really want to work with you either.
Along with your program.
Right.
Like, this is how I see.
So when do y'all use the B word? Is it like an everyday conversation with your girls?
Yep.
Is it only when you get mad?
It's something about the word that I just really enjoy. Like, I love the way the word sounds.
Bitch.
Yeah, you be like, bitch.
But I use that word like I use the word nigga. Like, it's not really, the best, I'm just talking. I'm comfortable. Like, I'm speaking to people. I'm like, yeah, that bitch.
That's crazy you said comfortable, though, because that's how I feel like when I'm comfortable around, like, at work, I don't just be like, bitch.
Right.
That's never going to fall out. But, like, it's like when I'm comfortable, it's just like I can just speak when I don't feel like I have to
pick up the phone like, bitch.
Get it, bitch. Right. Okay, I see you, bitch.
Bitch, you know what this bitch said to me yesterday. Bitch. Like, I just feel like there's so many ways you can say it. It sounds good. Like, I know that's not the most well-informed. I don't even know if you want to call it woke, whatever you want to call it, but I'm comfortable with it.
I feel like it's okay. Like you
gotta
said,
let
it's
your
a
shit
balance,
down. Like,
Yeah, we can be woke. We can be very conscious.
Yeah.
But I don't mean it in that way.
Right now, I just want to express myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What do y'all think about calling men bitches?
Oh, man. To his face? No, that's
no. Ever?
No.
I feel like
no
that's
matter how
another level
mad,
of complexity because on one hand we saying like, okay, it should be like this good thing, you a boss bitch. And then on the other hand, it's like when you call him a bitch, you taking his whole life down. So what does that mean the word means?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
I feel like that's
a bitch ass.
No.
You being a bitch ass, whoever you being a bitch ass.
Bitch ass, like, no. Like, that's not.
You a man.
I ain't never called no man no bitch?
I have.
Shit.
I was mad. Oh, I was mad. And
Yesterday.
That's how you know there's some complexities because it came out and I was, whoo. I was heated.
I be getting worked up. And I think I use that word because I know
to
it's
his face?
Yeah. Huh?
To somebody's. Oh,
I used it a long time ago, but I try, like, I don't, because of how I feel the word should be used with women, I try not to use that in that context because I feel like that defeats the purpose. But.
No, definitely.
I don't think that's okay.
That's never okay.
Parts in a
okay, so how you gonna say it's okay?
Relationship, because that's it. If we playing this cool, like I'm talking to my girlfriends, I'm like this bitch or bitch, like. But to use it to your
hey bitch, come over here.
A man, like you kind of like you're knocking him down. You don't want to ever do that. If you plan on ever speaking to this man again or ever building with him, like you don't want to do that.
I was angry too. I'm not even gonna get into it.
It almost came up.
And that's in anything. You try not to in relationships to like call somebody outside of their name.
Yeah, I think that's just in general that is good. So, what about in relationships? What y'all like? I think we kind of started that, but like, if your husband, your boyfriend, or a man called you a bitch, what would you do?
Oh man.
I feel like that word is just as harsh as me calling him a bitch as he calling me a bitch.
Yeah.
When you're angry and worked up like that and you're saying it as aggressive as
Like,
you
bitch!
are,
You know,
like, yes, and we're in the middle of an argument, you call me a bitch, you a bitch too.
That boundary has to be set early on. Like, you're not going to disrespect me. And
Right.
my name.
What if y'all
I'm not
doing the
gonna call you a
nasty?
bitch
He
ass
like,
nigga.
yeah, bitch.
I don't know what that would turn me on though. I would be like, like
I'm
the
sorry.
record was scratched. Like, bitch, oh yeah, bitch. Like, I don't know.
Get it, bitch.
Like, I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know how much alcohol is involved, but I don't know. I don't know if that's okay.
So do you guys feel like in your relationship or in past relationships that like being, maybe not using the word the bitch, but being that boss, like saying what you want, saying what you mean, still in a respectful manner that's like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but you asking me what I want, I'm telling you. Has that been a problem? Like you saying what's on your mind, getting men in relationships to
I struggle
like,
with
give
being
you that
that
respect?
I struggle with being that direct anyway. So I've never been perceived as a bitch until the shit
you started
blows
talking.
up, like as in
Yeah.
yesterday. So anyway,
I
no.
didn't listen to
Well, I'm just saying like
Was this with the young fella that was
no,
Oh,
no.
okay.
But I'm just saying
So
like
she got bitches. No, I'm sorry.
You ain't the only one.
She got hoes.
You
No,
ain't
but-
in a different area code.
you're so silly. No,
Oh,
I'm
that
just saying
damn
like
auntie laugh. Okay.
in relationships, like I never get to the point where it blows up usually like towards the end. So in relationships, like, no, I need to set those boundaries and I need to be more of a bitch up front if that's what it is. Like by me letting you know up front and creating those boundaries, like and being more direct, that would probably save me a lot of bullshit I go through in relationships until waiting to the end and blowing up and letting
like,
you know.
and they like
this is
looking
how
at
I
you
You
feel.
like,
letting
oh,
all that shit
I've been
neatly
waiting for
folded,
8
dry
months to
clean.
tell your ass.
You take that, you ain't shit, you ain't never been shit.
And then they looking at her like, who the fuck is this bitch?
Right.
Like,
So
This
you couldn't just
bitch.
say something before?
Right.
I'm a blower. Yeah.
I get that. I
Yeah.
get that.
Because you don't want to seem too like, I feel like life as a woman, especially as a black woman, I'm always constantly trying to seek the balance of not really going off on your ass, but still saying how I feel and like keeping that like how I'm perceived versus how I express myself. Like I gotta find a balance between that. Like sometimes you just gotta bitch. Like you just gotta get it out.
You gotta say it like that.
hey, yo, bitch.
All right, y'all. Well, yeah, I think this has been an interesting conversation. This might have to come back as a part 2. We get some guys in the room, and we can really have a full dynamic of the conversation to be like, what? Bitch, you a bitch? You
Join the conversation, though. Let us know on social media. Have you ever had a time where you felt like you were being called a bitch because you were sticking up for yourself? How has that ever gone for you in the workplace as a woman, demanding your respect? Talk to us and let us know if you've ever experienced anything like that and how you've overcome those challenges.
I'm that bitch.
Are you that bitch?
That bitch.
We thank you for tuning in. You can catch us on Instagram and Facebook at 3 Queens and Things.
Follow us on SoundCloud, you guys.
Yes, we need followers because we know y'all listen. Just go ahead and hit the follow
button.
button.
Create an account real quick.
Right. We'll follow you back.
Right, we follow back.
Me too.
You talk back. So it's all good.
Yeah.
As always, we're 3 Queens and Things. I'm Ati.
I'm Mimi Ford.
I'm Sola T.
And once again, we are
3 Queens and Things. All right, Kay, bye.
All right, Kay, bye.